Okay, so here we've got the ATC 810 twin engine flight simulator. And the work I'm going to do today is going to be taking all of this cabinet enclosure off the simulator. I'm doing this for two reasons. First, I want to be able to make a couple of minor repairs on the structure that it has. I want to do things like change out how these screws work, because right now it's just a long screw like this, okay, going edge on into this material. And I would like to replace it with either a threaded insert designed for that purpose, or maybe a small diameter helicoil. And the reason I want to do that is because when you're inserting screws edge on into plywood, it doesn't hold very well. It's fine if all you're going to do is put it together one time and then just leave it for the lifetime of the object you're working with. But if you move it around or it shifts or twists, it's eventually going to ruin those holes. And then it won't hold anything together at all. So that's one of the changes I'm going to make. Also, by taking all the skin off of this thing, I'll be able to make drawings for all the individual panels. So if in the future I want to build a replica of this cabinet, I'll be able to do that as well. And then the last reason is to be able to take video and still pictures of all of the stuff that's going on in here in order to explain how an old analog simulator from the early 80s functions. And with any luck, you folks will find that entertaining or interesting or boring as hell. Pick your poison. So with that being said, let me get started. First thing I have to do is unplug the power, right? Because doing it with power plugged in would be dumb. And painful if I brush the right thing or the wrong thing, depending on your point of view. Now I've got to unplug this, which is a ribbon cable, come on, that goes to the instructor console. Or in this case, they call it the fault console, or the fault panel. Because all it does is allows the person that's running the simulator for the student, it allows them to change it, how it works. You can take a look at that, and I'll throw a still picture of this in there at some point as well. And it looks like my battery's about to die. So I'm gonna go get a new battery, and we're gonna go from there. That face you make when you've just discovered the last 20 minutes of video that you've taken, you had your lav mic turned off. Yeah. I will have to come up with some pithy narration for that whole disassembly process. Choo-choo. Okay. Do we have any? We do not. Okay. Now we are going to do the sides. And all these will be easily replaced with threaded inserts. We attach to something I don't see. We may have bolts here. So let's, what are those? 7/16 looks like. Yep, captive bolts. Okay. That side should come right off of there. Yep. There we go. One side with captive bolts. Now, let's see what it looks like. Okay. It looks like I've got the same thing going on this side. So I will just take that apart. Here we have the other half, or the other half. There we go. Oh, look at that. I didn't even notice that. I'll show you here in a second. So, I'll bring the camera in so you guys can get a better look at this stuff. And I need my arrow. My fletched pointer of clarity, right? And there's that damned fan. Okay, so these are all of the instruments, but from the back side, okay? This is all the warning lights. These are the baggage and seatbelt light switches. This is the main backplane. Each one of the connectors uses a really long pin that goes all the way through that allows you to more easily probe the bus while there's cards plugged in, okay? Gonna tilt that down a little bit. No, well, this will work, but. And here's the rudder cable. There's some connections that I have to repair here. It'll be much easier now that the skin is off the beast, as it were. Over here, we've got the power supply. And as you can see, it's a pretty big beast. I'm not sure if I'm going to recap it. Originally, I was thinking about it, but now I'm not so sure if it's actually necessary. These little caps, maybe, but I don't know about the large ones. It seems to be performing. The voltages are good, so. Whoops, as I knock the tripod and everything. I'm pretty sure this is our noisemaker right here, that fan. Here's the speaker for some of the sound effects. There's another speaker right here for the motor. I'm pretty sure that's where the motor sounds come from. Oh, I know what this is for. This speaker is probably used for the gear warning horn that you heard in one of the other videos, and maybe some other sound effects. And then you can see in here how the various things plug in. And I've actually got, oh, it's for the marker speaker. I bet that's what this is. That's for the airway, the inner and the outer markers. This is the connector for the directional gyro. And there's some other instrument connections here that I will describe. The thing that I was surprised, that I exclaimed about, was this right here. This is actually a completely square panel, but because of the enclosure, this little paint bit here gives the illusion of a curved panel, and that's really kind of clever. It's a little bit of theater that makes the simulation. Okay, now that I've sickened everybody by doing that, this is the roll and the pitch mechanism. The stick goes all the way through, the yoke goes all the way through. There's some trim elements here. I don't know if you noticed, but when I was first flying it, I was manipulating the elevator trim wheel here. Well, that trim wheel directly affects the position, how far in or out the yoke is. So the trim is actually done mechanically as opposed to electronically or in software, which I thought was just neater than hell. Apparently, also this switch on the yoke here is for electric trim, which means I can run that trim up and down without actually having to touch the knob. There's a motor that'll do all that work for me. And then here's some more stuff about some more stuff. Another view of the avionics, as it were. This HSI is very curious because it seems to be, and may actually be, a real HSI, which would surprise me. There's a label on here that I should really be able to get a view in here when I can get all this taken apart that'll tell me yes or no as to whether or not that's real. But the two connectors here are really surprising to me, and the shape and how different it is from all the other instruments in the simulator. Because most of these are custom designed for this simulator. It's not off-the-shelf stuff that they're using in other real things or real simulators. And you can see how basic a lot of this stuff is. I mean, there's 4 wires for these. These are the engine RPM, I think. Let's set the camera down and adjust things a little bit. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, this is manifold pressure. This is RPM. This is fuel flow. And if you notice, they've got 2 wires going into each, and that tells me or at least I suspect, that these are what are called D'Arsenval, and I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, meter movements, which means the mechanism inside that gauge is the same you'd see in an old style multimeter that's got the needle that sweeps back and forth. If that's the case, something like this could easily be controlled by a simple microcontroller and a PWM signal, which is really kind of neat. I haven't seen anything really difficult or incredibly complex in this entire design that wouldn't lend itself to simple microcontroller interfacing. Oh, here we go. Okay. I made mention, I think, of how the panel was vibrating, and I suspect there was a panel vibrator in there. Well, I was right, and here it is. You can see that it's just a little 24-volt DC motor with an offset arm on it, okay? And what that does is it vibrates this whole panel, and it does that on purpose, not for any kind of a simulation effect, but to prevent any of the needles or gear trains in the instruments from sticking. It effectively simulates the vibration of a piston or a jet engine in a real airplane. And that's actually really kind of a neat feature, and it's just another one of those things where the guys that designed this thing knew what the hell they were doing. And that's really cool. That's going to end this video and start getting some work done. I thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. And if you want to, go ahead and hit that little bell button so you get notified when I have more bizarre, boring, or interesting content posted to the channel. Thank you much.